And the scene is set at the
Okay, sorry.
Elysium in the History Department building at Tulane University, where the prince is currently sitting down and looking at a book. He's gotten a distressing call from Miss O'Keefe about the fate of Monsieur Leblanc, and he's waiting for her to enter the room. As Claire enters, he looks at her wordlessly, but she can definitely see empathy in his eyes. So, Miss O'Keefe, how exactly did he die?
I'm not 100% sure. He seemed to be in pain. Had he been kind, I would have assumed he'd had a heart attack. But he's not. I, for obvious reasons, I'm concerned about my own safety, and I do intend to be leaving town tonight.
Hmm. It's a shame, he says, and he kind of drums his fingers on the book. He's standing up, but you can tell it's the book you came to get. He then picks it up and he says, well, he probably would have wanted you to have this. I finished reading it a few nights ago. It's very dense. Then he holds it out for you.
Claire takes the book and just kind of holds it to her chest and manages to stutter out a thank you.
It's all right, my dear. It's all right. And he actually walks with you a little ways down the halls, out of the building, and he gives you little bits of small talk and encouragement. And he says, there's a bus you can take to the train station if you want to get a light, tight room. I would suggest calling this number. And he hands you a number for someone who typically books boxcars on the rail so that you can be sealed in. You just have to pick a destination. It's a little cheaper than flying, but it's not economy or anything that comfortable, I'm afraid to say.
Well, I don't strictly need comfort. I appreciate your offer. I'll be giving this person a call. Quite likely I'll be heading to the northwest. I've received information that my daughter might be there. I'd like to set things right with her.
You know, it's family is everything. Well,
I haven't seen her in over 100 years.
He looks back at that. He looks at you and like he says, "Well, then it's probably high overdue." You know, Vivian and I once had a spat, and I had to take it the wrong way, I suppose. I was a bit stubborn at the time. I was devoted to finding an old enemy. I left town for a few years. She was very upset. But still, it was only a few years. And in recent decades, I would leave town again for a few years more at a time. She's held down the fort here, tending to our garden, and he, waves to the university campus. She's done a marvelous job, more than I could ever do alone. And I realized something recently after returning, that I was taking her for granted. Perhaps once you find your daughter, you can put in the time to make this right. But I am very sorry about Monsieur LeBlanc. He was a tender soul.
He was.
He then looks at his watch and he says, well, the bus should be here in about 10. He points to the walkway you should take. I'm afraid I have other business to attend to, or I would walk you.
Thank you anyway. I've appreciated your kindness in my time here. And perhaps someday we'll meet again.
He nods. He nods.
And Claire turns and picks up her bag and walks down the walkway into the night.
The prince is, of course, upset that no one can verify who broke the 6th. But he makes a mental note that if he finds out, that particular individual is going to rue the day they were ever embraced. Then he turns around and he walks inside past Gerard, the ever-dominated janitor. There are other janitors, but Gerard is the one who seems to be taking it the best, even though the repeated domination has not been good on his mental health. The prince sort of lightly turns Gerard a little bit so he can better mop the hallway he's in, and then he wanders back down into the lecture hall. And as he's looking around and getting things in order, I suppose a new character will be making his entrance.
In front of the